What's up, guys? All right, so if you're having an issue with your house not being able to, let's say you want it at 72, 73 degrees, and your furnace is not ever getting up to the temperature that you've ever needed before, I figured out the problem. So I'm just gonna go through what I went through figuring this out real quick. So if this is your problem, you're gonna relate. So I'm upstairs and I'm trying to get my house to 72 degrees. And the house won't get above 65. And I would go downstairs and the furnace is on. Come back upstairs and going back and forth. This lasted for like a week. I'm like, what is going on? I go downstairs, furnace is on. Come upstairs. I'm like, there's something wrong. And I'm feeling the vent, and the vent isn't blowing as hard as it normally does, that I'm thinking, but I don't know. My wife turns off vents and stuff like that. I stopped that. But so I'm doing this back and forth thing, and my house never gets above 65. So I'm like, all right. So finally this weekend, I sat there and I went, okay, there's something wrong. I got to figure it out. I work a lot, so I haven't had time to sit there and investigate this. I sit down in front of my furnace and I'm watching it. And so it's on when I get down there. And all of a sudden, the fire goes out, but the blower stays on. Now, in the furnace room, it's warmer than normal than the rest of the house. So when I would feel the vent, you know, it feel like warm air was blowing, but it wasn't. Just the blower was going. And then about 3 minutes later, the fire would kick on and it would blow, and I would wait, and then 3 or 4 minutes later it would shut off. So it was just doing this as a cycle, and I'm like, okay. So I start looking at forums. I'm doing this. They're like, your limit switch and all these things, or whatever, this and that. And I'm like, what's going on? Well, I find out that now the last thing that I'm thinking about is that it is my filter. I had just changed my filter 2 months ago, and I've never had this problem before. But I went to go pull out my filter. I have one of those box filters, not one of the thin ones. And I can't get the filter out. And it winds up being that the suction from this filter that I'm trying to pull, and it's a Honeywell filter, I'm trying to pull this thing out and it wouldn't come out. I finally get the thing out of there and I'm looking at it, and it's gray, but it's not like, there's no dust on it. You know, it's 2.5 months old. It's gray, but all of a sudden I feel like as soon as I get it out, like a wolf of air starts going into the furnace. So without the filter in there, I went ahead and closed it with no filter, and I'm sitting there and I wait, and it stayed on. It wound up staying on, never shutting back off. I walked upstairs. I must have had 3 times the amount of pressure coming out of the vents, because I mean, it was just like, stuff is moving now as far as drapes and stuff. So it wound up being that my filter was dirty. It didn't look that dirty. I don't know if maybe I got a finer filter that doesn't last as longer. But it says on the box it could last up to a year. It lasted 3 months. So went to Home Depot, got a new filter, stuck it in there. When we went to go put it in, you start putting it in, it sucked it right in, you know, because of the amount of force of pressure and stuff like that. But it gets in there. Go back upstairs. I still have a little bit less because there's no filter, but I still have a good amount of pressure coming out of the vents. So here it is. If you're having problems with your house not heating up all the way, okay, and just never gets to temperature, the first thing, which is what I'm going to do from now on, is pull the filters out, close it back up, and see if that fixes the problem. You know, because before I was having a problem with the heat sensor, which detects the fire, but that only if the fire turns on and the heat sensor that I talked about in an earlier video is bad, it shuts off within like 5-10 seconds. This was lasting like 3 or 4 minutes. So if you're having a problem with the temperature not coming up, pull the filters out, run it for a little bit, see if that fixes your problem. Because apparently I had dirty filters and shouldn't have been. I don't know why, but that fixed my problem, and I don't have this problem anymore.